time for Baseball with the Bard.
We are back to Sunday mornings, everyone. Good morning and welcome to this week's episode of Baseball with the Bard, our tentative season finale. We will be doing more episodes in the future, but it will be much less weekly. It'll be time to time when there is important news that Noah and I choose to talk about. But for now, we would like to introduce two of our special guests from the Roll Call podcast. We've got Lucas Bolduck and Mr. Joe Aguirre. Hey, guys, how we doing?
Good. Thank you, Tyler. How are you?
Wonderful.
Good, good. You guys want to tell us a little bit about your podcast?
Joe, care to share anything, or should I go first?
I'll go first. So it's funny. I started the Roll Call podcast in July of 2017 because I said to these two dudes, I think the Yankees have a special team here, and I think they may go all the way. We did our first show. We sort of broke things down. And my bold prediction that day was that the Yankees would lose in 7 games to the Houston Astros in the American League Championship Series. Bam! And ever since then, we've just been trying to get that championship. Lucas joined us this season. Lucas actually has just become the host of the Roll Call podcast. So it's me and Lucas and JJ. And, we try to be, because one of the things Lucas and I'm sure Noah can feel me on this, there are so many stupid Yankee fans out there that it makes you want to bang your head against the wall. We start off our show, we talk about statistical information from the week so that you have an idea. Like, we talk about stats and analytics because it's important. It's not the whole story, but it's a big part of the story. And so once we sort of understand what the Yankees have been like for that week, we break it down pitching, we break down hitters, figure out who's playing well, who's not, what the problems are. And then we'll criticize Aaron Boone for any mistakes he's made.
That's right.
But that's to be expected. That's just how it goes.
It's always the manager's fault.
But, we were talking offseason moves. The Yankees aren't getting JT Romalto. They're not getting Francisco Lindor. Shut up already. This isn't MLB 2018. Like, you're not going to load up on all-stars. I think the Yankees have shown you that you do actually need some diversity in your lineup and in your hitting. They certainly do need a pitcher, whether that's a guy like Trevor Bauer or it's somebody internal remains to be seen. But that's the show that we do. Lucas, why don't you jump in from there? Because I love it too. If I do say something stupid, and I can say stupid things. I suggested that Yankees get rid of Aaron Judge, and that's why I have people like Lucas around.
Yeah, no, I think I'm mainly there to keep Joe kind of in check. No, I'm joking. But one of the good things about our show is, we just don't sit there and agree with each other. We tend to have different opinions, and that does lead to some arguments. I know Joe and JJ have gotten into it a few times.
We can relate.
Yeah, so like Joe said, whether it's like the pitching, the hitting, anything like that, we always have something to talk about. There seemed this season to be a new problem with the Yankees week by week. So whether it was their bullpen, their starting pitching, their hitting was slumping, something like that, there was always something to talk about. And then we get out there with our crazy analysis. Like, me and JJ think Gary Sanchez should go, but Joe thinks that we should let him get one more season to prove himself.
Yeah, that's dangerous around Joe.
Yeah, Joe's a big Gary Sanchez guy. Me, not so much, but I guess I'll give him one more season. Joe's kind of convinced me.
Before we move on, let me explain something. I was a catcher my entire life, growing up, right through high school. I had like a really different idea of what the job entails. I know firsthand everything that this guy's been going through. I understand. The fact of the matter is he's had 3 different catching coaches in the last 4 seasons. And roll your eyes, Tyler. It's not easy to do. It's not an easy thing to do.
I don't know.
When they told him last season, forget everything you know. This is how you're catching this year. Dude, that's a lot. Ask anybody on that team. Because this is the other thing that pisses me off. When people say he's lazy.
Yeah, no, he's not
anybody
lazy.
On that team, he is the hardest working guy on the team. He's the first one in. He's the last one out. He's the only guy. I mean, again, dude, he got benched at the playoffs. What did he say when the media asked him about it? I'll be ready when they need me. That's what
that's a good response.
That's what a team guy does. So
sure.
If they want to take him out of the lineup a couple days a week and have somebody else catch for defensive purposes, great. Do it. But dude, he's one of the greatest home run hitters in Major League history. Only Ryan Howard's outpaced him through 340 games. So give me a break with that nonsense. You're going to find a way to get this guy's bat in your lineup, whether he's the catcher, the right fielder, or you have him pitch like Shea Ohtani. You got to get him in the lineup.
He may be a team guy, but that team is not the Yankees within the next 2 years.
I'll bet you.
Oh?
I will bet you that stupid hat, which I will then set on fire.
Yeah, Noah, he's betting you your stupid hat that he will
He's
then
not
set
talking to
on
me.
fire.
He is not talking to me. I have said nothing. I came here to talk about the World Series, so I'm just watching the show at this point.
Joe, we have a 2-year bet. In
Yes.
2 years, if he is not on the Yankees, you can burn my Guardians hat.
Fine. And
if he is, excuse me. I'm sorry. You saying he will be. If he is on the Yankees, you may burn my hat, and we can do it live.
Have it be known that was one of the first purchases, if not the first
That
purchase.
was the first purchase
that was made
of an XFL stadium. Thank you very much.
That Tyler made. He was the first in line. We got there super early because we wanted to be the first people to buy merchandise. So if that hat has to get lit on fire, it's going to mean something. And that reminds me of a time that I was at Tyler's house and I had a Nick Swisher t-shirt on, and Tyler's dad has a ranking for who his favorite friends are of Tyler's. And I wanted to make sure that my spot was number one, as it always should be in any category. So what I did was I burned my Nick Swisher shirt in their backyard.
True
yes,
story.
and it is on film. Tyler still has the video. And in fact,
I send it to him every year.
We should slap that on the Baseball with the Bards Facebook page or something along those lines so people can see that. But Tyler, every year on the day of, the memory pops up and he sends me the video as a reminder. And I had the shirt for a while. I was going to frame it, but my mom made me throw it away because something about it being gross. I don't know. But so we are used to burning sports merchandise in the terms of bets and one-upsmanships.
The deal is on, Joe.
You've actually got me thinking about something, Lucas, that I'd like to maybe start doing on the roll call. Is we can take the jersey of a pending free agent we definitely don't want back and set it on fire.
That is a good idea.
Like, think about it. We could get a Hap, a Tanaka, and a DJ, and we'll
Just
like
light one on
we'll
fire.
make a big thing and be like, which of these are we gonna burn? You know it's gonna be Hap. You know it's gonna be Hap, but we'll really build up and pretend it might be one of the other two guys. Yeah, that would be really cool.
Oh, gosh.
I absolutely love that. But let's quickly roll into our COVID update. We don't like to linger too long on COVID, but this time around, someone needs a little bit of a trouncing, and that is Mr. Justin Turner of the Dodgers. Now, I'm sure everyone has heard about this by now, but if not, I will give you a short synopsis of what happened. So obviously we all know the Dodgers won the World Series, but Justin Turner got a mid-game COVID positive test result and was asked, I believe in the 7th inning, to go quarantine himself. So he had to be away from everyone because his test came back positive. And then here he is, 2 innings later, out on the field, cheesing it up with the World Series trophy right next to him while sitting next to who you can't see on his right side, Dave Roberts, who, if you didn't know, just survived cancer. So, yeah, next to an immunocompromised person. I, for one, am very livid about this. I can't believe that he hasn't already been had some sort of punishment put up against him. I know that he's excited. He's in a moment where his team finally won the World Series after all these chances they've had over the last 5 to 6 years. But I just think it's absolutely reprehensible, his actions on the field here. And I feel like you all know that if you've seen this show, that I take COVID very, very seriously. And so I'm just bummed to see such an all-star player, such a role model to so many young kids, just completely disregard the rules that MLB had put forth for him. So I'd just like to get a quick, opinion from you guys as to what you thought was going on. So Lucas, could I just hear from you first?
Yeah, sure. I was actually going to ask to go first, so that's perfect.
Oh, perfect.
So you win a World Series, you're obviously overcome with emotion, and any regular year, I would expect anyone to go out onto the field and celebrate, with their teammates, the guys they made it through the season with. But this season, it was different. It's COVID. You've got players out there. Obviously, you said Roberts is a cancer survivor just recently as well. So it was just ultimately an unprofessional move by Justin Turner, someone who I had thought to be one of the most professional men in the game up to that point. But it was a very irresponsible move by Justin Turner. It was also an irresponsible move by Major League Baseball and, whatever security staff they had holding him in the back or in isolation. They
Yeah.
should have gotten him in a car and to the hotel to, maybe he could have celebrated privately with his girlfriend that he had there on the field. It was just an overall bad look for the Dodgers, Justin Turner, and Major League Baseball.
Yeah, Noah, do you think this was a bad move by them? What do you like? What else could Justin have done?
I mean, I think it's pretty obvious what he could have done. He just needed to quarantine. I mean, that's it. If you get a positive COVID test, you don't want to be near anybody, whether they're immunocompromised or not. So him coming back out on the field, it was honestly reckless in a sense. It wasn't one of the things that you can look at and say, oh, whatever. Or he was hanging out with the team for the entire game, so he was already exposed to so many people. It's just one of those things where it's pretty obvious what you need to do. You got to just get away from everybody. And it sucks. It sucks for everyone. This season or this year wasn't ideal for anybody, especially people playing baseball. No fans in the stands. Your World Series is at minimum capacity. You can't sit with your friends in the dugout. They're all sitting in the crowds and stuff to separate from each other. Like, no one's having an ideal time. So it's honestly reckless to say, oh, the series, we're done here, so let's just go out here and hang out even though we have a positive test on the field.
Yeah, and Joe, I know you have been very safe with your family as it pertains to COVID. What do you think what do you think MLB could do with Justin Turner as some sort of punishment? What do you think a good response would be, Joe?
He should definitely suffer some sort of suspension at the start of next season. 5 games for stupidity, and that's exactly how they should announce it. It's a shame because we spent a lot of time talking about the week of and how great a job baseball had done because people were following the rules and doing what they were supposed to. And apparently the rules don't apply to Justin Turner. And I think the only way that, because we're going to be dealing with this next year as well. I think we all have an understanding of that. And I think because of that, I think it's important that Major League Baseball levies a punishment. And I think that team should be fined in addition for the stupidity in allowing him onto the field where he was making out with his girlfriend, who also I'm going to guarantee has COVID.
Right.
He also was hugging other players and their wives. You mentioned the Dave Roberts thing. I mean, Justin Turner's like an A1 ass because of what he did. Sorry, bro. Go home.
No, I agree.
Quarantine's not 2 innings. It's 2 weeks.
Right.
What's wrong with you?
You had another 13 days and 22 hours to go there, boss. So 23 hours because he was really only in the back for maybe 90 minutes, if that. So yeah, absolutely reprehensible. I'm glad we're all on the same page here. Just absolutely horrible thing for him to do. I can't even believe that was something that went through his head, being such a leader in the clubhouse that he is, to do something like this. But like I said, we don't want to.
Selfishness is what it is. It's total selfishness.
It is. It really is.
I'll tell you something. There's some good buddies of ours who might even join us on this show today. Who I don't want to say the rules don't apply to them, but they're sort of living their life still despite COVID. And we had a conversation yesterday, and I kind of yelled at them a little bit. And here's my whole thing. Am I making the most of quarantine, Tyler? Yes. Yes,
yeah,
I am. No other choice. Do I enjoy it? Do you think I don't like the fact that I haven't golfed all year? You think I enjoy that?
No, of course not.
No, I'd love to golf. I'd love to go to a smoky bar and, rub up on people. But I also want this thing to end. And the only way it ends is if everybody does what they're supposed to do. not 24 Dodgers, but all the Dodgers. You know what I mean? We all have to do it. It's a bit. I hate wearing a mask. I hate it.
Yeah, me too.
The people that are like, I can't breathe. I'm with you, bro. I'm dying like 2 seconds into it, but I keep it on.
Hey, listen, Noah and I did a haunted woods last night where I was running around and screaming and I had my mask on the whole time. Y'all can wear it for at least the time that you're in a grocery store or at a baseball game.
Tyler, slightly off topic here. Was that in Wallingford by any chance?
It was not. We were up in Plymouth, actually.
Nice. I did one in Wallingford last week. That was pretty fun. But I had my mask on too. But that didn't.
Yeah, no, it was. We can all get through COVID together if we just stop fighting each other on it. Let's all get along and wear our masks, and we can eventually stay home, get this thing down, and get back to life as we know it. Hopefully sooner rather than later, so we don't do what the UK had to do yesterday and go to a month-long shutdown. Let's please all get along so we can get back to getting along.
There's no I in team.
That's right. They're right. I agree. That was good. Are you like a baseball coach? That was a good.
No. I'm a good speller. I just figured this out. There's no I in team. Been spelling it wrong all this time. I just noticed it now. Thought I'd share it with the rest of the class.
Oh, thank you so much.
Thank you, Joe.
Everybody. Thank you, Joe.
Thank you, Joe.
Good job. Congratulations. That was very good. But, this is a baseball show, so let's go back to what we're here for, the World Series. Noah, would you like to kick us off with some of our action that happened in games 1 through 3?
Absolutely. This World Series kicked off in odd fashion. There wasn't a stadium packed with people. There was about less than half capacity. We weren't in anybody's home stadium, so the home field advantage existed at the bottom of the ninth. But again, you didn't really have that cheer from your fans hyping you up and helping you win a huge game. Game number 1, the Dodgers would take 3-8. Clayton Kershaw came out to prove that he could do what he's done during the regular season, and that was keep his team in the game. Bellinger hit a home run in the bottom of the 4th, put the Dodgers up 1-0, only a few nights after dislocating his shoulder in a celebration a few days before. With Kershaw's 7 strikeout in this game, he would actually reach 200 postseason strikeouts, which is a very impressive accomplishment. Kevin Kiermaier would make it a run-1 game with a blast to make it 2-1. Tyler Glasnow would honestly be dismantled in this game, if you asked me. He didn't really pitch as effectively he did previously in the postseason. Hernandez continued to pour it on in the 5th, making it a 6-1 game with the Dodgers' incredible defense. They wouldn't need much more offense. Mookie Betts would also hit a home run, keeping his track record of being a World Series fiend. The Rays mounted a comeback in the 7th, but ultimately only amounted to 2 runs, and the Dodgers would win this game 8-3, giving them a 1-0 advantage in the series. So can I just ask a general question here? What do we think after game 1? 8-3 is a fairly big mountain to climb for any team. Did we think it was over at this point? Like, did anybody say?
I was very sad because I was very much thinking this might be done in 4.
I kind of, after a game 1 in any series, whether it be hockey, baseball, basketball, anything like that, I always wait for game 2 to be over before making any rash fears or anything like that. And the Rays won game 2, so there you go. So I wasn't worried at that point. I was just like, it was 8-3, so I was a little concerned, but I was like, listen, if the Rays get game 2, I think that this is going to be quite the series we're going to get to watch here. So, and that did end up happening.
If you didn't know, on our episode 1, I predicted that the Rays were going to win the World Series in episode 1 of Baseball with the Bard. So I had everything riding on this. So when they lost in game 1, I'm like, well, it was a good run.
Hey, they made it there. So
they did. So ESPN, just, give me a call.
There you go.
I'm the true analyst.
Joe, what did you think of game 1 here? Did you have a feeling that the Dodgers were going to keep this hot streak and Kershaw was going to be able to command the ball the way he did?
Well, I said Dodgers were going to win it in 6, and this pretty much went along with sort of the layout I had. I figured I thought they would split the first 2. The key game 3, the Dodgers would win. I thought the Rays would hang and the Dodgers would finish them off. And I thought at worst case it would go 7. I think what you saw in this series at the end of the day is that what the Yankees approach to doing would have worked. It would have worked if they stuck to their guns. I've been saying it now for the last 2 weeks. You go home with the girl you took to the dance. Does everybody understand that what that means? When I hear fans talk about, oh, they should start butting and getting runners, shut up. What are you, stupid? You do you think that the Yankees or the Dodgers they're going to just, and you saw it happen a couple times here where you saw Aaron Boone overmanage and try to do something the Yankees don't do. It blew up in their face. And you saw the same thing happen to the great Kevin Cash, who I still think is a great manager, where Kevin decided he's got to follow the rule book of his kind of coaching, and he took Blake Snell out, and that literally blew up in his face instantly. You've got to do what you did all year. If your starters go 6 or 7 all year, and you got your boat, that's what you got to do to win games.
Yeah, absolutely.
But you're either going to hit home. Here's the other thing: you got to tip your cap to the Rays, and we could talk about Randy Arozarena in a minute.
Oh, we will.
And the ridiculous overhyped machine that comes with a little bit, Tyler, but that's fine. The Rays were able to hang with the Dodgers as far as hitting homers, but at the end of the day, the Dodgers still out-hit them, still were able to get to that bullpen, just like I said the Yankees could do. So I don't think the Yankees need to go blow things up. The Dodgers stuck to their guns. They did what they had to do, and they won the World Series. It's as simple as that. You got to play the game that got you there. That's it.
Absolutely.
Unbelievable.
No, absolutely. That was good. I'm going to burn quickly through games 2 and 3 here just to give a quick overview. So the Rays would take game 2 6-4. Tony Gonsolin would start for the Dodgers, and Brendan Lau would make him pay in the first inning with a booming solo home run. Blake Snell came out to pitch for the Rays, and he dominated the first inning, going 1-2-3 on just 10 pitches. Snell would get out of a second inning jam with two strikeouts, and he would return to form after that slip up. Joey Wendell drove in 2 in the 4th to put the Rays up 3-0. Brandon Lau would hit another homer, this time for 2 runs, putting the Rays up 5-0, which to me was kind of cementing their lead there and saying that they were going to be able to hopefully turn the tides in their favor. The Dodgers would finally respond with a 2-run homer in the 5th to break up the no-hitter Snell had going. Joey Wendell would drive in another, making it 6-2. Will Smith would again join the Dodgers home run parade and hit a solo shot, bringing the score 6-3 in favor of the Rays. So Corey Seager would come up to bat and hit another home run and going up 6-4. So the Dodgers are definitely using that home run ball in game number 2. Those late runs wouldn't matter because the Rays pitching sit them down in quick fashion, and the Rays would take the win 6-4, tying the series at 1 game apiece. In game 3, the Dodgers would take that lead back, and they would go 6-2. Charlie Morton would lose the magic he had in his previous postseason starts. He was very commanding, and if you ask me, he was the most consistent starter the Rays had going for them to this point, but he would not hold it together in game number 3. The top 4 of the Dodgers order would drive in 4 runs early, giving them lots of momentum to be able to finish up the game. Yes, the Dodgers mounted a great offensive showing. However, the MVP of this game was their ace, Walker Buehler, who would put up 6 innings of 1-run ball with 10 strikeouts. Unbelievable performance by Walker Buehler. The Dodgers would then hand the ball to Trinan, Gratterall, and Jansen, who would each pitch scoreless innings and ultimately silence the Rays' bats late to give them a win in this game, 6-2, and thus giving the Dodgers the 2-1 series lead. So in looking at the Dodgers pitching rotation, would I be correct, and would you agree if I would say Walker Buehler was the best thing that they have?
Oh, yeah, that's an easy yes. I think he's better than Kershaw. I think he's their new ace. And I think the Dodgers will come to that realization starting next season. I think Walker Buehler is their number 1 guy. What about you, Joe? I saw your face.
Yeah, I don't know that they're ever going to tell Clayton Kershaw, as long as he's there, that he's not their number 1 guy. So, I think the way the rotation laid out might have given a different impression. But I think the Dodgers know full well and that Walker Buehler's not only the best pitcher on their staff, but might be one of the top 3 pitchers in the National League.
Yeah.
And I know, I'll say this too. I love Clayton Kershaw, and I was glad to see him get a World Series win and the strikeout mark or whatever. But he needed that, like, in a big way. I've never been look, he dominates the National League West every year. I mean, he's beaten up on bad Colorado teams and bad, look at Arizona. I mean, every 4 years, Arizona rebuilds. Same thing. The Padres have been terrible since 1998. I don't want to take anything away from Clayton Kershaw, but, when it mattered most, he was not ever a big game pitcher. And so the fact that he pitched well in this postseason, that he got the World Series monkey off his back, kudos to him. But I don't think it's a mystery to the Dodgers that Clayton's their second best guy. And I think that, unfortunately, going into next season, I think they would pencil it in as Kershaw Buehler, even though they know in their hearts that it shouldn't be that it's really more their hearts that's making that 1-2 call.
No, absolutely. I can't agree with you any more, to be honest, Joe. It was nice to see Clayton win that World Series finally, like you said. And I have something I want to say about Kershaw, but I'll save it until we get to the end of the World Series here. So, Tyler, I'm going to turn it back over to you, my friend.
Yeah, thank you. Appreciate it, Noah. Sorry, I wasn't switching the little title cards over there, but we have Game 4 coming up to you guys now. This was probably my favorite game of the postseason. It was such a fun chip shot back and forth. I think Noah and I were texting for the majority of it, and I kept celebrating whenever the Rays would go up and crying when the Dodgers would return the favor. So as Noah put in our little script we're reading here, he said, baseball is a weird game. And that is a perfect way to describe it. It was back and forth all night with Arozarena, Phillips, Lau, and Zunino all driving in runs for the Rays in the effort, and Seager, Turner, Muncy, Peterson, and Hernandez each driving in runs for the Dodgers in their effort. Runs were scored by both teams in the 5th, 6th, and 7th inning. The name of the game was offense on both fronts, but the Rays would ultimately come out with a walk-off win in one of the most bizarre fashions you will ever see in a postseason game. Randy Arozarena and the third base coach got a little bit overexcited and sent him home on a play where he would have probably been out by a good 10 to 15 feet. But because of the catcher missing that play and it bouncing away, even though Arozarena stumbled his way around third base and fell down, he was able to gloriously headlong dive into home base, and the Rays would walk it off, going up to win 8-7 on a walk-off fashion. I don't know about you guys, but like I said, this was my absolute favorite moment of the World Series. I loved this moment, and to be a guy like Arozarena, who is making a name for himself in this postseason, couldn't have ended any cooler. I absolutely loved it. I loved how no one celebrated with him, though. They all chased the guy in the field, and Arozarena's just sitting at home, just patting the base and laughing and smiling. But yeah, Lucas, how did you feel watching this game?
Yeah, obviously that was the most electrifying game of the whole series. I mean, the ending just goes to show that anything can happen in baseball. I mean, I thought, like you said, Tyler, I thought Arozarena was going to be out by a mile. But, the mishap at home plate, it lets Arozarena slide right in and look like, it was all planned that perfectly to happen.
Yeah, right. Storybook.
Right. And I just think that even though the Rays lost the series in the end, that tied the series. That kind of, I think, in a way, shifted the momentum, even though they lost the next two. That doesn't really make sense. But I think it gave the Rays a lot of hope, is what I want to say.
Yeah, it definitely did. I agree with you, but I see the Arozarena hater down there giving you faces.
Yeah, Joe, we've talked a lot on the roll call recently about Arozarena and his record-breaking postseason, but Joe doesn't want to hear it.
He played more games than the other guys did.
Yep, there we go. You
guys can't possibly be like you guys. I have a feeling you're all just joking with me. You have to be, and I'll tell you why. Randy Arozarena had more at-bats in the postseason than Giancarlo Stanton had in the regular season.
Okay, Giancarlo Stanton's a broken man.
He had 77 at-bats in the postseason. Are you insane? Of course
why
he
he
had
broke
the
the
most
record.
hits ever. Yes!
Congratulations.
Dude, this is,
Why would I be mad about that?
you should be mad because it's a compiler stat. What? That's why. Listen.
No, Joe.
Close your mouth for a minute and listen to me.
No.
For the same reason, you're insult. A lot of people will say that Giancarlo Stanton is a stat compiler, right? You hear that? That's all you've ever heard about Giancarlo Stanton. He's a compiler. There's nothing more compiler than playing way more games than everybody else. If you look at what Derek Jeter set the record in 1996, do you know how many games he played in? 12. Breaking the record in 20 games doesn't impress me.
I'm sorry.
It just doesn't. When Carlos Beltran hit 8 home runs in 12 games in 2005, that was more impressive than hitting 10 in 20 games. I'm sorry to say, Randy Arozarena played great. If they won the World Series, he would have been the MVP. But let me tell you about 1998, guy by the name of Shane Spencer. These things happen. Guys get hot. When there's no scouting report on you, nobody knows who you are. When you were added to the roster for your defense and for your base stealing ability and not for your Babe Ruth-like status, let's stop pumping this guy up artificially for whatever reason we're doing it. His rookie card is going for like a fortune right now. It's fool's gold. Stop being so stupid, people. The guy had a good 2-week stretch. He got a month's worth of playoff baseball. That's why. God.
Okay, but like you're treating it as if he was like, you know what? I'm gonna be the only player who can do this in a month, and it was his choice to play a month of baseball. That's not his fault. This is the gift he was given by the Major League Baseball gods, and he took full advantage of it.
The question is who had the best postseason this year in a month's worth of games? The answer is simple: Randy Arozarena. I could go back to any 2-week stretch during the season, and I bet you I could blow your mind at who the best hitter in the league was for that 2-week stretch. It's not always going to be the Mike Trouts of the world. A lot of the times, it's people like who's the kid from Kansas City there, Mayfield.
Oh yeah, or Fernando Tatis.
Like that. It's guys like Joey Wendell who hit like 450 for 14 games, and then followed up hitting $130 for the next 4 weeks. That you have, it's inconsistency. It's streaky players. We talked about one named Gary Sanchez, as streaky as they get. Gary's the kind of guy that can go into the postseason and hit 577 at-bats with 10 home runs. That's all Randy Arozarena did. Again, you're not talking about, look, this guy was not on anybody's radar, Tyler, is my point.
That's why it's impressive.
My other point is, it's not impressive. No scouting report. They didn't know how to pitch him. He definitely was hotter at the beginning than he was at the end, if you'll have noticed. So, something to think about. He's a fine player. I remember when Yandy Diaz emerged for them, they thought they had another superstar. Yandy's an above-average player, slightly, and I don't think Arozarena projects to be much more than that. So, everybody, calm down.
All right. For Joe's
can I just jump in for a sec?
Okay, yes, sure. And then we will move to 5.
On the Randy Arozarena train here. And I will say this. I want to start with absolutely impressive what he was able to do in this 20 whatever games that they played in the postseason. He tore the ball apart. However, I did the entire time have the thought in my head that Joe was saying is all these other teams only have a small sample size as to how to deal to Randy Arozarena. And we see this with a lot of people. I'm a huge Aaron Judge fan. I have the jersey. If you look at Aaron Judge's first year of baseball, I mean, he tore the ball up. Nobody knew how to play this guy. But as time went on, we started to see these slowing downs, and you hear people like, oh, Judge is a streaky hitter, and so on. And the same with Gary Sanchez, the same with Whit Merrifield, as you were saying, from the Royals, is these guys that come up, they have a few really, really good moments of playing baseball. And we said that with this shortened with the shortened season and the extended postseason, it's all going to be about who's hot and when. And Arozarena was hot when the postseason started. Is it impressive what he did? Yes. Is he going to keep it up? No. I hate to break it to you. I do not see him doing this year after year after year. He's going to be good. He's going to be good. But I think this was the only time we're going to see him tearing it up as much as he did this year.
Noah, would you agree that Tyler treated him on social media like he was the second coming of Jesus Christ on earth?
I
was going to say Mike Trout or Babe Ruth, but it was worse than that.
However, the majority of people did that. So I can't just say it was one person, because
listen, you Randy Arozarena hater. We'll stop talking about him so your old guy blood pressure can go down, and we will allow it.
Arozarena.
No, I'm not talking to you.
Oh, he's attacking. No, he's attacking me, even though his best friend, has the exact same opinion. He's going for me. He's going for me.
Joe, I can see your smug little face in the corner, and no one else can. But yeah, no, Arozarena deserves every record he got. Period.
Yes, and then very quickly.
No, he doesn't. What he deserves is, and the way this should have been handled from the beginning, boys, is this. Let me tell you something. Back in when baseball first started, there was American League and National League. And the season ended at 154 games, and then the top two, they just played the World Series. 4 games.
That sounds boring.
4 games and you're out. Well, yeah, they were like, hey, let's get some more teams. They got it to where there was 2 divisions in each league, right? So 2 teams play for the pennant, then a World Series. 8 games. If you sweep everybody, you're in and out.
Awesome.
Then in 95, they added the wild card. 12 games. Now in 2020, we've added like 20 more teams and a whole bunch of games, and you're up to 20. How can you possibly compare Babe Ruth postseason records with Randy Arozarena's? Randy Arozarena had as many at-bats this postseason as Babe Ruth did in his life.
Yes.
How could you call those the same thing, Tyler?
Because times change. And we can still be okay with what the guys did in the past, while acknowledging what's happening currently.
You can't possibly compare those. That doesn't make sense. I can't compare what Babe Ruth did in 4 games, what Randy Arozarena did in 20.
Then we got to come up with some new labels for these records then, rather than getting annoyed about them. Just say common era versus past era, and we can keep it that way. But it's not that way right now.
But it should
so we have to give it its acknowledgement.
It's a stupid record as it's currently stated. It's not a good record. It's not indicative. I think it's an insult to baseball history. And I'll take you one better, Tyler. In 1998, when Bernie Williams broke Babe Ruth's postseason career home run record, I knew there was something wrong with the postseason records. And I love Bernie Williams a lot. I have his jazz albums. That's how much I love him. Okay? But that wasn't right. That he broke the record in like 12 series because, I mean, again, Babe Ruth was a multi-World Series champion, and the Yankees went to the postseason a lot when he was there with Gehrig and Murderers Row. But they didn't play as many games. How can you compare those things? That's all I'm saying. I just find it silly. And the fact that we haven't already started talking about, like you said, with the Super Bowl, in the common era, in the Super Bowl era, there's got to be a distinction in what we're talking about. Baseball.
Well, let's make it happen then.
We should think about the black mark of the 61 and the asterisk that went along with that. Because of the extra games. People were like, well, he needed more games to break the Babe's record. It doesn't count.
Right.
And for years, Tyler, growing up, there were 2 records. There was the 154-game record of Babe Ruth, and there was the other one that Maris had said.
But just think about society right now. Do you think we can handle more categories? I don't know. People are we like to think simple lines, graphs. That's good enough. Give me a number and a pretty picture, and I'll share it on Facebook. That seems to be how the common mind, the hive mind is for sports statistics now. But I agree with you. We should change how people think about sports statistics. But that's not the case right now. So I'll share them as they're shared.
But I don't hate Randy Arozarena. That's the last thing I'll say. He's fantastic, but stop.
Okay.
Going into Game 5 here.
Sorry, I forgot we're still breaking the series
Tyler,
down. My
Tyler.
bad.
Yeah, Noah?
Can I please have a second? I was trying to get you in the chat here, but I knew you were too busy focusing on with Joe. I did want to give props to Brett Phillips, who hit that walk-off in Game 4. That was his first career postseason at bat. Imagine walking into an at bat in that situation with 2 outs, and your team is looking to face an uphill battle in the World Series and hitting a single off of Kenley Jansen of the Los Angeles Dodgers in your first career postseason at bat. I just want to give quick props to Brett Phillips for staying in there and putting solid contact on that ball and putting it in the outfield. That's all I wanted to say.
Yeah, absolutely. Can we say that stat's good, Joe? Is that one allowed?
There's nothing wrong with stats when you put them in context.
Oh, God.
In Game 5, we would see the Dodgers win a 4-2 game. Kershaw once again pitching 5 innings of 2-run ball, keeping his team in the game. The Dodgers bullpen would take over and not allow a single run to cross the plate, with Seager, Muncy, Bellinger, and Peterson would all driving in 1 run each. Excuse me. Diaz and Arozarena would also be the only ones to drive in runs for the Rays, and their losing efforts, the Dodgers would take a 3-2 lead going into Game 6. In Game 6, the Dodgers would seal the deal, winning 3-1. The Dodgers would use 7 arms in a bid for the World Series victory. Betts and Seager would drive in runs for the Dodgers in this low-scoring affair. The Rays would only push across 1 run, courtesy of, guess who? Randy Arozarena. Blake Snell would dazzle, pitching with a strong 5 innings of 1-run ball, striking out 9. But manager Kevin Cash, as Joe alluded to a little bit earlier, would pull the dominant lefty in the middle of the 6th after Snell hung a slider, which only resulted in a single. This would spell disaster for the Rays, as their pen would allow 2 runs, costing them a chance at the big trophy. The Dodgers would hand the ball to Julio Urias, who would hurl 2 strong innings, striking out 4 and recording the last out of the 2020 MLB season, with the LA Dodgers becoming our 2020 World Series champions. Dodgers win the World Series 4-2. Congratulations go to the Dodgers. This is not, I think, who any of us wanted to win the World Series, but I do think that they definitely deserved it, and we all believed they would be here. Joe, I don't think you're as much of a Dodger hater as I am. So did you enjoy to see them winning this World Series, or was this just like oh, great, awesome?
It's funny, growing up, my second favorite baseball team and my National League team, if you will, was the Dodgers.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah, my grandfather was actually a Yankee hater. He was a Brooklyn Dodgers fan because he thought it wasn't fair that the Yankees were so awesome. Isn't that a beautiful thing?
Yeah.
But
you got to have more fans of the underdog.
Yeah, he just loved those Brooklyn bums, and when they moved to California, he stayed on them. And my mom's initials actually are L.A., Linda Aguirre, and so I had a Dodgers hat as a kid, and I used to play games by myself, Yankees, Dodgers, just flipping the caps.
Oh, okay, that's funny.
I was a weirdo when I was a kid, huge baseball fan. I literally used to play baseball games by myself.
So this is kind of nice for you.
It was great. Look, I think, and I think Noah's maybe Noah's with me on this one. I feel like after you saw how the last 7-8 years of the Dodgers, knowing what happened with the World Series with Houston, and with Clayton Kershaw, and I love Dave Roberts, even though he's our
my
Bucky,
soft spot.
He's our Bucky Dent.
Right.
He's our Bucky Dent. I mean, he put a chink in Mariano's armor, and I'll always respect Dave Roberts for being the game changer that he is. So yeah, I'll tell you, I was my thought going into the season was if it's Yankees Dodgers in the World Series and they lose to the Dodgers, I would be all right with that because I think the Dodgers are certainly a great team. To me, they're the Yankees of the National League. So yeah, kudos to the Dodgers.
And Lucas, from what just talking here, it sounded like you were pulling for the Rays. Is that true?
Yeah, it's not easy to pull for a division rival, but I'm one to root for the underdog. So I always go for those small teams, especially a small market team like Tampa.
Yeah.
Yeah. So and someone who has like the smallest payroll in baseball.
Third,
Uh,
I think, right? I think they're the
yeah,
third smallest payroll in all of
and
baseball, behind maybe Oakland and I can't, maybe Miami. I forget who the other one was.
Clayton Kershaw and Mookie Betts
I
have a
saw that.
bigger combined salary than the entire Rays lineup. So
Yeah.
Can I
not
tell you
sure.
something?
People. What's
The
that?
only time I've ever rooted for an American League East division opponent to be successful in the postseason was the Baltimore Orioles in 1983 against the Chicago White Sox. Otherwise, if you're playing the Red Sox, Toronto, if you're
Tampa.
playing Tampa, I am rooting for the other guys. I actually rooted for the Mets in the 86 World Series, and I hate the Mets more than
Wow.
any team on the planet, so you could imagine.
Yeah, that's insane.
Here we go. This is not going to make Tyler happy, but in the what year was it? 2018 Super Bowl. I I'm a Giants fan, as many of you probably know. I rooted for the Eagles.
We don't have to talk about this. This is fine.
Yeah, I hate the Patriots that much that I rooted for the
Wow.
Eagles.
What?
No,
That's crazy.
he's not alone, Joe. I had a lot of coworkers who are all Giants fans who were all cheering for the Eagles, and Dallas fans, Eagles. They were all cheering for the Eagles. And it's not even just that they hate the Patriots, it's that they hate Tom Brady.
Yeah,
so they had
Tom
to cheer
Brady.
against I know. This is a good topic that we can talk about on our all four downs with OV. But I've had so many wars that I've come out victorious as a Patriots fan, and that was just one of the worst. Absolutely one of the worst.
Tyler, I've pulled for the Patriots twice in my life. One was in that Super Bowl. The other one was against Atlanta.
Oh, all right. 50-50.
Yeah, dude, I'll tell you what. When you're cheering for Tom Brady,
it's weird.
It's pretty awesome as a fan. It's a lot of action. You got to be really invested in the day. You can't really sit too much and relax because you're constantly like, yeah, it's all day with that guy. I tell you what, seriously, all jokes aside, Tom Brady's great. I don't know how anybody could root against him. And Bill Belichick, to me, is a mastermind. I think Bill Belichick might be the greatest coach in the history of sports.
Yeah.
And so I would never openly root against them unless the G-men were on the other end.
Yeah, fair enough. And I know how you feel about the Dodgers, Noah. You are a relative fan. You do kind of enjoy watching the Dodgers. And my father would agree. He's a big Dodgers guy as well because of Dave Roberts. Loves Dave Roberts. So Noah, what's your final takeaway from this World Series?
I enjoyed it. I enjoyed watching it. Game 4 to me was I thought the Dodgers were going to fall apart following that because they fell apart in that 9th inning. It was just not good to watch if you're a Dodgers fan or wanted them to win. They just couldn't hold it together. It was almost Little League-like seeing that ending. So I thought it was over there. But when they won that next game, it was they kind of reaffirmed their dominance. They kept the Rays bat silent. And then Game 6, they just showed true Dodger form. So I was happy to see them finally take it. I was happy to see them get this big World Series win after having last year they lost in the division series, after losing to the Red Sox, who were caught cheating that year, after losing to the Astros, who were caught cheating in 2017. So they just have not had a good deal, or they haven't been dealt a good hand in the postseason, and they were in rough shape. And I mean, to see Clayton Kershaw take a victory, and I wanted to say, I'll save this until you get everyone else's take on the World Series, but I want to talk about the MVP's choice here, and I just want to see what everyone has to say about that.
We were. I think I'll just say because I picked the Rays, I was disappointed that the Dodgers pulled this out. But there are certain players on the Dodgers that I do like Mookie Betts. I really like Mookie Betts. I used to like Justin Turner, but things have changed on that a little bit. And they're a fun team to watch. They look like they're having a great time. They kind of remind me of the 2018 Red Sox. They just look like a band of brothers who are having a great time playing ball, but while also being paid $20 million a year. So they better win, just like the Yankees better win. So this was a ending that I'm not surprised happened, but I am still disappointed to have seen happened, except for Clayton Kershaw. I'm happy he finally got that ring that he deserves. But yeah, it looks like everyone basically is not surprised, maybe a little bummed, but we kind of expected this outcome to happen. But yeah, Noah, you were saying MVP.
Yeah, so the MVP of the World Series was Corey Seager. What do we think about that? Do we agree, disagree? And if you disagree, who should it have been? Because I have an opinion that I work in a middle school, as some of you might know. I'm a substitute teacher, and all the kids love baseball, and we talk baseball, football, all that stuff. They know more about football than I do. I'm not a huge football guy. But when it comes to baseball, we always have debates and conversations. And one thing I said to them before this series even started, I'll say to you afterwards, but I want to see everyone else's opinion here of the MVP choice.
All right, Lucas.
Yeah, I thought Corey Seager was a fine choice. He played a great series. He's obviously he's the younger brother of Kyle Seager, and he's already better than he was in his career.
Yeah.
No hate to Kyle Seager. He's a Mariner legend, I guess you could say. But I like the choice. I think it was fine. I think it could have easily went to Mookie Betts, or Walker Buehler, but I think Corey Seager was a fine choice. But I wouldn't have been mad if it went to Mookie Betts or Walker Buehler.
Yeah, Joe.
Yeah, look, I mean, I think when you hit 400 in the World Series, Betts certainly played well, but he only hit 269 in the series. To me, I think Seager definitely was the most productive player. He's been there a long time. He's been a leader of that team. I think he was a very worthy choice. So I want to make up one other point. After the Game 4 loss, to me, the difference and the reason the Dodgers were able to reestablish their dominance, as Noah pointed out, was they just stuck to their guns. They didn't hit the panic button like, we got to do everything different. They stuck to their guns. They came out and they played Game 5 like they needed to. Because I'll tell you what, when you make mistakes and you said throwing the ball around like little leaguers, typically teams that do that against the Rays don't beat the Rays.
Right.
You don't get to make mistakes and beat the Rays. The fact that Dodgers are able to buckle down and finish them off, I think speaks volumes about what a great organization they have.
Yeah, I agree with both of you. I think that was the correct move. But the face I made was that I would have enjoyed Mookie Betts to win because I like Mookie Betts, and I'd like to see him get a little hefty bonus at the end of the year, even though he's already getting a good paycheck. But I think Seager, being a fan favorite and just an absolute clutch player in the postseason, really made that an easy choice for the Dodgers and MLB.
Plus the fact he's been there for so long. You know what I mean?
Imagine giving it to Mookie first season.
That's what I'm saying.
Kind of like a pow.
I think if you're a Dodgers fan, you're loving Mookie Betts, and he's going to be there for the rest of his career. And within about 5 years, he'll be most Dodger fans' favorite players, I'll assume. For right now, it's still probably Corey Seager for most of them. So after 8 years of frustration, it's a good choice. Again, you could have gone right with Buehler or with him. Anybody would have been fine here, but I just think he represents best the 8 years of frustration.
I would think Noah would agree, but it would seem he has a different opinion.
Well, I do like how they chose Corey Seager. The numbers would say that guy should be the MVP. Before the World Series started, when I was talking with the students there, and my students in middle school, they're 7th graders, and I was like, hey, guys, who do you think is going to win the World Series? And they were like, oh, the Rays. They're all saying the Rays. And I said, all right, if the Dodgers do win, who's going to be the MVP? And there's Seager, Muncy, Bellinger, all the Mookie, those names. And I said to him, listen, how cool would it be if Clayton Kershaw went out there, dazzled everyone, defied all the odds we thought, and then he ended up winning the MVP of the World Series. And they laughed. They laughed at me.
Yeah.
And they're like, listen, Mr. Cross, come on. Let's be realistic here. That's not going to happen. And I'm like, no, guys, really, he could do well. After Game 1, I came in. I was like, what'd I tell you? And they were like, he was a fluke. He won. He kept them to a run and 8 strikeouts. Who cares? After the next game, Game 5, same thing. 2-run ball, 6 Ks through 5 innings. Excuse me. I said, guys, Clayton Kershaw's looking good. I told you, MVP. How much of a redemption story would that have been? Now, I disagree that I don't think Clayton Kershaw should be MVP here. I would have went with Walker Buehler instead. However, how cool would it have been if
definitely.
That's man,
like storybook.
Dude, come on, right? The story would have been so beautiful.
I don't think he's gotten more hate than this season.
valid. And to come out and do what he did in the postseason, as a guy who's criticized Clayton Kershaw endlessly, as you know, Tyler,
Yeah.
to see him with that MVP status in the
Yeah.
World Series would
That
have
would've
been
been nice.
something. And in those 2 starts, in all honesty, I mean, we say 3 runs or less keeps your team in the game. The guy had 3 runs in 2 games. In 9 innings, he held on to 3 runs. I mean, it's night and day. 10 innings. It's something that I would have loved to see.
Noah, I just pulled up the numbers from the both starts, and the more I'm looking at it, the more I'm thinking, I'm almost now shocked that baseball didn't give it to Kershaw.
Thank you.
Because nobody – I agree. Nobody would have been like, I don't think so.
I don't know. People are salty.
Look, I think if you said Bueller, I think if you said Betts, I think if you said Seager, I don't think there was a wrong answer.
Argument.
I like the Seager again for the idea. He's just been there for so long. He's been such a big part of their team. He did hit 400 in the series. But Kershaw, to me, probably is the more sentimental pick. And certainly deserving. So it's not like I'm saying like Mercy Award. He pitched outstanding. He pitched what you expect starting pitchers to do in this generation, in the 2 starts. You could have gone with either starter. Again, you could have gone Betts, could have gone Seager. And I think any of those 4 guys, I don't think that you're not going to have an argument about it.
Absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely.
A spirited debate, certainly, but an argument, I don't think anybody can really make one.
So it was a fun World Series. This was definitely a fun World Series to watch. I think a lot of people thought the Dodgers could just run away with it, and it didn't happen. The Rays kept their heads down and kept themselves alive in this series. But the season's done. We have 140 plus days until the season rolls back around. The countdown has begun on my wall at home, and I will continue to count every day until we are back to Red Sox baseball at Fenway Park and Yankee baseball at Yankee Stadium. And we can hear that whistle every time Garrett Cole gets a strikeout. But for now, let's make some bold predictions, shall we? Next season predictions. This is an easy one. I feel like everyone's going to answer the same thing. Who will be the manager of the Red Sox next season? It seems pretty obvious that Alex Cora is going to be getting his job back.
Yep, I agree with that. I think there's no reason. I mean, there's no reason for them not to hire him back.
I don't like it, but with the way it's going, and Alex Cora tweeting his little cryptic like prayer hands and a World Series trophy, I'm like, oh, okay, well, I guess they're at least talking. And Noah, you're shaking your head. You've been saying that it's going to happen. Do you not think it's going to happen now?
I just don't like it.
Yeah, same. Right. It just feels like it's going to happen.
I think when you look at the backlash that the Tigers are already getting for the horrible hiring of Cora, dude, hire him back. I dare you guys to hire him back. If the Red Sox were smart and they were serious about turning this organization around, getting back on track and rebuilding, the guy you need to bring in is Jason Varitek.
Yes, Joe. Yes. Oh, 100%. That is the number one guy who can turn that team around. Imagine the guys he could just bring in as clubhouse guys. They don't even have to be coaches. You get guys like Millar and all these incredible names who were on that 2004, 2007 squad to come in and get these guys amped up in the championship feel. I'm 100% on that. I made a Facebook page back in 2008 that said Jason Varitek for Red Sox manager, and I'm going to reactivate it. I am so ready.
Joe Girardi did the same thing when he was the manager of the Yankees, man, and you saw all sorts of legends and his former teammates around, not on his staff, but coming to spring training, and just being available for those guys. So
100%.
I think you want somebody who means something to your organization.
Someone who loves the Red Sox.
Alex Cora honestly doesn't mean anything to any organization. At all.
I could care less about him. I get it. He won us a World Series, but so did John Farrell, and I don't want him back in the Red Sox organization.
Yeah, but not for nothing. You know what? Almost that entire team is gone, Tyler.
Yeah, you're right.
You know what I mean? This it's not like he's getting his old job back because he's getting the band back together. This is like if Ringo restarted the Beatles with us. I mean, it's not the Beatles, man. It's not the Beatles just because Ringo's on drums. So I think that would be a silly move by the Red Sox. Look, I think that the Red Sox are a proud franchise. I think they're one of the great franchises in sports. They're definitely the second best franchise in the American League East. And That was kind of a joke, Tyler, at you, but thanks for letting it
I'm
slide.
just gonna let it just like.
I think for the
brush off.
sake of the integrity that being in business for over 120 years, I think the Red Sox have to look themselves in the mirror. They know they did something wrong in 2018. I think in hiring Alex Cora, you know what you're going to do? You're just going to get the talk fired back up, and
Right.
we're going to want
Cheating
the
again.
detail of what you did wrong, because we still
Right.
don't really know specifically what the Red Sox do. You hire Alex Cora, you're going to have to answer those questions for an entire year.
Yeah, I hate it. I hate
Good
it. I
luck
hate all of it.
Good luck rebuilding with that dark cloud hovering
As
over
a
the
Patriots
organization.
fan, I know the vibe of having to deal with cheating scandals.
There you go.
So I'm really sick of it. But Lucas, I actually want to ask you first.
Sure.
Do you think Aaron Boone is here for the long haul for the Yankees? Is he sticking around or is he on his way out?
He has a lot to prove next season, I think. I hate saying, because I just sound like a crazy Yankees fan. I hate saying championship or bust.
You beat me to it.
It's been long enough now. I think next year, honest to God, I think it's championship or bust for Aaron Boone. And then if Aaron Boone goes, I think there's more major changes to the Yankees to follow that. So I don't like saying it, but championship or bust next season. I mean, we've had high hopes
Should have
for
won
the
it
past
this year.
Right, we've had high hopes, especially this season, for the past 4 or 5 seasons now. It's about time we get one.
Yeah, Joe, do you probably agree?
I don't. I think championship or bust is possibly the stupidest philosophy one could employ, as far as what your actual honest philosophy is. That's an unrealistic. Can you imagine in football when you've got teams that have made the playoffs 10, 12 years in a row, if you're like, championship or bust, these are all wasted seasons. First of all, I think that's an extremely pompous take in sports. It's to suggest that none of the other teams have a realistic chance. I think that's a foolish notion. In your heart, championship or bust, yes. Successful season, whether that's, winning 100 games, making the postseason, getting to the second round of the postseason, I don't think you can blanket championship or bust. You're telling me if you lose the 7th game of the World Series, that's
right.
a wait. Get out of here with that.
Sure, now, Joe,
I've never
I hear
bought
that.
into that. I'm not a Steinbrenner.
No,
So
exactly.
I don't expect them to go 162-0 and win the World Series every year. If your goals aren't realistic, look, you fire Joe Girardi because he just wasn't winning more World Series with this team, and you brought a new guy in, and he's not doing it, and you're going to bring in another guy. Maybe it's not the manager. Maybe there's a little more to it than
There's
that.
something in the clubhouse. I think clubhouse is a massive option.
As I stated, if you look at the Dodgers and the way the Dodgers stuck to their guns and played this series against Tampa, if the Yankees stop playing around so much and stop trying to swoop down to Tampa's level and play Yankee baseball, we wouldn't even be having this conversation. You'd be high-fiving the three of us on another World Series championship, Tyler.
Yeah.
That's what would have happened. It's what should have happened. It's what could have happened. This Yankee team was plenty good enough.
Yeah, 100%.
But it's not the manager. It wasn't the manager's fault. It was a few components, including the hero worship of analytics. The only thing that pisses me off more than the hero worship of Randy Arozarena.
Now, Noah and I are both usually agree on Aaron Boone. We both like him. We both think he's a good manager, top 3 manager in the majors right now. But we do see that he makes some bonehead decisions at management sometimes, which every single manager does that from time to time. We've seen Dave Roberts do it, and he just won a World Series. You're going to kick him out for having these decisions that are crap from time to time? Yeah, not a chance in hell.
Sure,
Noah,
Don Mattingly, Tyler, is known for making some really stupid managerial decisions.
Yeah, still renowned as one of the greatest of all time.
Right. Just mixing up like the double switch. He struggles with that almost once a year. He screws it up somehow. That doesn't take away from him being a great manager. Just like Kevin Cash making one really wretched pitching decision doesn't change my thoughts that Kevin Cash probably is still the number 1 manager in Major League Baseball. It just makes me say, Kevin, Sometimes you got to go beyond the numbers, bro.
Yeah,
There's
and
got
now
to be a fine mix between analytics and gut and the eye test and knowing when to make your move and when not to. And I think going forward, I think that maybe Kevin Cash might have learned a lesson from that game.
yeah, definitely. And, as much as I bet we can all talk about Aaron Boone for the next hour, we do have one more question I want to get to before wrapping it up here. And it is just that: who is going to be the World Series champion next year? So I'm just going to do a little bit of a round robin here. And I want you to give me who your pick is and give me like 2 reasons as to why you think that team is going to be the World Series champion. I'm going to start beneath me with Lucas, and we're going to roll up to Noah and finish with myself. So, Lucas, who is going to be the 2021 World Series champion? And we are going to pretend that COVID is gone and it's a normal season.
Okay. So, you heard what I said 10 minutes ago. Championship or bust. The Yankees are winning the World Series next year. There goes Joe.
Joe is like, I can't. I'm out.
The Yankees are winning the World Series next year, and here's 2 reasons why. Garrett Cole's going to win the Cy Young. He's going to win 20 games, and he's going to pitch a below 2 ERA. That's a bold take, but I think it's going to happen. Right. Aaron Judge is also going to hit 50 home runs for the 2nd time in his career. There you go.
Bold take. All right.
Not saying another word.
We're taking the Stankies to win the 2021 World Series. Mr. Aguirre.
I'm just gonna go with what Las Vegas says. I think Yankees, Dodgers, and I'd like to say the Yankees finally win it.
Okay, all right, Noah.
I agree with Yankees, Dodgers. I think the Dodgers have a slight edge over the Yankees in terms of winning the World Series. But if I had to pick a team, I'm going to pick the Dodgers. I'm sorry. I think the Los Angeles Dodgers are going to go back-to-back years.
I'll have you guys know this is the first year in 5 years that Noah is not taking the Yankees.
I'm playing strategy here.
I like it. I like what I see what you're doing.
Fair.
No, a little reverse psychology.
See what I'm doing.
Yeah. We'll see how you feel about episode 1 of season 2. We'll see how you're feeling by then. But I never take the easy pick. I am a heart picker rather than a mind picker. And this is a team who I've been riding for the last 3 years, saying it's time for them to have a World Series push, and you're all going to lose it over this pick.
If you say the Mets, I'm going to come down.
I'm taking the Mets. No, I'm kidding. I'm not taking the Mets. I'm not taking the Mets. Don't worry.
Right.
I am picking this team who I think is going to have a massive offseason as the reason they're going to win, the Chicago White Sox. They have been a under the radar, if not just above the radar, where we're starting to notice them team for the last 2 years. They're finally starting to make a surge, and they just fell off at the end of the season. They started to lose again of this COVID Cup season. I think they get some massive pickups in the draft, some big guys that they might bring up over the next few years, and I think they're going to do a big job in the offseason as well, maybe signing someone along the lines so that the Yankees do not want to lose in DJ LeMahieu. That's my bold take. DJ LeMahieu to the Chicago White Sox as the proponent that pushes them that one little bit further they need for an end of the season push to the postseason. Chicago White Sox 2021 World Series champions.
Can I just tell you my one thought why that's not going to happen? And
sure.
I think the hiring of one of the great managers in baseball history, Tony La Russa, at 76 years old, is a horrible choice for that team. You're playing in an analytics era with a guy who doesn't own a calculator. You're talking about a 76-year-old white man on a team with a lot of young black and Hispanic players. I'm just not sure that this is the right guy for the job. I don't know that I see this working out. I think they should have gone with somebody like Hensley Mullins, a guy who's younger, who speaks 5 languages,
right?
Who, I just think would relate better to these young guys. If they're looking for like a grandfather in the locker room, if they think that's what they were missing this season, then I guess it's La Russa. But I don't know, man. I think you're playing you got a checkers player in a world of baseball chess. I'm not he doesn't have the team to do what he's done in Oakland and in St. Louis. So
it's definitely a different vibe.
What happens. I hate it though, but best of luck because I do love Tony La Russa.
I listen, if my prediction skills are as on point this season as they are going to be next season, you will see the Chicago White Sox in the World Series. Because as Joe knows, as Noah knows, Lucas, you may not have seen much of my content yet, but this year with the XFL podcast and this podcast, I was on fire when I was predicting how games were going to turn out. The only little hiccup I had was the World Series this year, how it would turn out. But otherwise, I was doing damn good with my predictions. I hope it happens, but what's that?
I did have one question I wanted before we end here that I wanted to get all of your opinions on. What do you guys think, something we didn't bring up all show, about AJ Hinch getting another manager job?
I agree with AJ Hinch getting another management job because even though he's the manager of the team that had the biggest cheating scandal in baseball history, it is well known that he didn't have much to do with it. He just didn't stop it. I think that's something that is forgivable personally. But personally, I think everyone should have a second chance, maybe just not with the team that they cheated with. Because Cora not coming to the Red Sox, AJ not going to the Houston Astros. But Joe seems to disagree.
I think AJ Hinch is a liar. And I think as long as Pete Rose gets to stay out of the Hall of Fame for being a liar and for not admitting that everything that we already know from John Dowd's report about what he did, say I did it, Pete, you get to be in the Hall. If AJ Hinch can't admit as the leader of that team, he didn't hear the garbage cans? He didn't know what was going on? I'm sorry. I'm not buying it at all. Be honest. Be up front. The Astros did a cowardly thing before the season by not owning it. AJ Hinch has done a terrible disservice, and I think the Red Sox are just going to bring on more. So what did you do going forward? This whole thing isn't over yet, and you keep bringing these guys back up, and you're going to just have to answer the questions. And anytime even anything remotely suspicious comes up with your team, we're going to know, and we're going to look at you different, and it's going to taint everything you do. I would steer clear of Hinch. I would steer clear of Cora. I would steer clear of anyone associated with cheating.
Yeah, I think we can all agree that you should probably not work with cheaters.
Yep.
And Noah, you have a quick hot take here?
Yeah, no, I agree. I don't think it's a good look for any team to sign any of these people. I will say the Tigers are desperate when it comes to having somebody to maybe give their team a bit of direction. Cora, without the whole cheating scandal and lying, Cora and Hinch are both good managers. I mean, I can't say they're not good at their job. They just were caught up in a lot of these bad things. And worst of all, as Hinch said, he was extremely smug with it. Even before this whole story broke with all these players coming out and saying this happened in 2017. And Hinch even last year was saying like, if somebody saw something, they should put their name on it and go to the press. And sure as crap, someone went out there and did it, and then he was silent. So he went from being the most cocky bastard that you could ever meet to now that everyone knows about it, he's just silent and not saying anything and playing the innocence card like, oh, I tried to stop this once, or oh, I wasn't aware of the extent of it and all this other stuff. So no, I'm not buying it. And the fact that Pete Rose is banned from the game for betting on his own team to win, they didn't cheat. He just bet on his own team to win because he knew they were good and he wanted to make some cash. That guy's banned for life, but Hinch literally disrupts the flow of the game and robs not one but multiple teams of a World Series win and costs people their jobs because pitchers go out there and get destroyed by these guys and they send them down or they move them around, and that guy gets banned for a year and then automatically gets a job as a manager on another team. That's ridiculous.
Yeah, absolutely. I think we can all agree with you there.
Domingo Germán has been punished more severely for a transgression we're not even sure, it appeared to be some sort of domestic violence situation. This guy's been gone for an entire year plus, and he didn't cheat the game. And so I have a real problem with the discrepancy in the way you're punishing people. And just one more note on what Noah said. Pete Rose didn't even cheat necessarily because he wanted to make money. He just wanted to up the ante because sitting on the bench managing wasn't doing it for him. And the problem that Pete unfortunately doesn't understand is he says he only bet on the Reds to win, which is great. But those were the nights you used Rob Dibble and Randy Myers, and maybe you didn't, maybe you didn't put your best relievers in tonight because you were going to bet on it tomorrow. And that's what Pete doesn't understand. But if you won't ask Barry Bonds, ask Roger Clemens. If you can't own up to it, you don't get to be in our big club.
Mhm.
If you can't
I think that's a good exclamation point right there.
You did it, then you don't get to play with us anymore. Man up.
Absolutely. I think we can agree with you there. That makes the most sense. You've kind of put a little perspective on it for me in the AJ Hinch. I just enjoy AJ Hinch, but I guess that makes the most sense what you've said there. But yeah, thank you guys absolutely for joining us today. It has been a absolute pleasure having some extra opinions on for our season finale of Baseball with the Bard. I think if we can agree, our first episode of our off season should be cheating scandals in the MLB. And we should talk about how we feel about all of them. And maybe we can have you guys back for that as well. But with that said, once again, thank you all. This is presented by Clovercrest and that gentleman in the bottom right corner there, Joseph Aguirre. Let's show some of the other things you may see if you come onto our Clovercrest podcast website.
I would just like to point out that a few weeks ago, Jace said that Mac Jones was garbage.
Hurry up here for Alabama. Play action. Mac Jones wants it all. Long ball, man there. Got him. Mechie, touchdown.
I'm not sold on Mac Jones.
In the red zone, Alabama with 3 minutes and change remaining in the half. Jones fires to the corner. Devontae Smith. Touchdown, Alabama.
Clovercrest Media Group presents a CMG podcast. Keys to the City.
Keys to the city, baby. When you see us, so you know.
Crossed up by Kobe, little floater to Shaq, and then Shaq goes like this, and the rest is history. Pay attention. Don't tell me what to do, Devil Woman. Speaking of those Lakers, hold on. But I didn't make my. I said Denver's gonna win. Yeah, you did. You said that. There's no other show like that. Clovercrest is doing great things right now.
Streaming everywhere.
When I was 12 years old, I became a Jack Nicholson superfan. This happened almost overnight on an evening in February 1997 when I first saw The Shining.
Here's Johnny.
In those 20 plus years, I never stopped being a Jack superfan.
I want the truth. You can't handle the truth.
Get ready for You Don't Know Jack, hosted by me. Subscribe today on your favorite podcast platform.
Thank you all so much for joining us on this season finale episode of Baseball with the Bard. We will see you soon, and we will be coming to you with details of what the future plans are going forward. For Baseball with the Bard, this is Tyler Bard. That was Noah, Lucas, and Joe. We will see you all next time.